your 1.5 lesson goes over complex numbers. Again, this is part 1, so we're only focusing on certain parts of this. A complex number is a term or a number like I. I is an imaginary number. It represents the square root of -1. So I is equal to the square root of -1. I squared is -1. So if you were to take I and square it, do the same thing with that radical, you would get that I squared is equal to -1, which is what you see there in the wording that it gives you. You are going to see these expressions in the form of A plus BI. A is the term that does not have an I attached to it. It is the real part. Your imaginary part is the part that has the I attached to it. So the B would be your imaginary part. If we look at the next page, it gives you different examples of A plus BI form complex numbers or complex number expressions. If you look at 3 plus 4i, the 3 is the real part out of that. The 4 that's in front of the I is the imaginary part. If you look at 1/2 minus 2/3 I, the 1/2 is your real part. The -2/3 that's in front of the I is your imaginary part. Then with 6i, there is no real part, so the real part is 0. Your imaginary part would be the 6 because it's attached to that I. Then with -7, the real part is -7. Your imaginary part would be 0 since there's no I within that expression. If we look at the next, or the set of examples that we have here, we're adding, subtracting, and multiplying these. For A, we have 3 plus 5i plus 4 minus 2i. We said in prior lessons that when you have parentheses and they're separated with addition, you can just get rid of the parentheses and combine like terms. So this would be the same thing as 3 plus 5i plus 4 minus 2i. From here, you're going to combine like terms and put it in the form of A plus BI. So your real part will go first, your imaginary part will go second. So you have 3 and 4, which combine to give you 7. Then you have 5i and -2i, which give you positive 3i. This is in the form of A plus BI, so that is your answer. For example B, we have 3 plus 5i minus 4 minus 2i. So with this one, since there's subtraction in between the two sets of parentheses, we will distribute that negative into the second set of parentheses to give us 3 plus 5i minus 4 plus 2i. And then from here, we combine our like terms. So 3 minus 4 gives us -1. 5i plus 2i is 7i. So that's just -1 plus 7i. For example, C, we have 3 plus 5i times 4 minus 2i. So with this one, we're just going to FOIL it out like we would with binomials multiplied together. So we're going to do 3 times 4, which gives us 12. Then 3 times -2i is -6i. 5i times 4 is positive 20i. And then 5i times -2i is -10i squared. That I squared, we said, is -1. We also can combine like terms to give us 12 plus 14i minus 10 times -1. That -10 times -1 turns into positive 10. So that's 12 plus 14i plus 10. We combine like terms with the 12 and the 10 to give us 22 plus 14i. All right, so if we get the next examples, oh, these have your evens done for you. Okay, perfect. If we do the odds, for number 1, we have 7i minus 5i. So these two are like terms. We're going to combine them, and that gives us 12i. For 3, we have 5 plus 2 plus 7i. Your 5 and your 2 are like terms, so that's just 7 plus 7i.
Yeah, how did you get 12? Because it was a subtraction.
Oh, I don't know. I added them instead of subtracted them. So let's erase this, and let's just do 2i. There you go. That one's right. Sorry. For 5, we have 8i minus 2 minus parentheses 3 minus 5i. So the first thing we're going to do with this one is distribute that negative into the parentheses. That's going to give us 8i minus 2 minus 3 plus 5i. From here, combine your like terms. Since I have to give the answer in a plus bi form, I want to combine my constants first. So that negative 2 and that negative 3. That's going to give us negative 5. Then we have that 8i and that 5i that add to give us 13i. So that's just negative 5 plus 13i. For number 7, you have 1 minus 2i minus parentheses 7 minus 3i. So same thing as the one before this. We're going to distribute that negative into the parentheses first. We have 1 minus 2i minus 7 plus 3i. Combine your like terms. Again, I'm going to combine my constants first. So 1 minus 7 is negative 6. Then my imaginary parts, so negative 2i plus 3i is just 1i or i.
If you wrote it as 1i, it's still.
Yeah, 1i and I are the same thing, so it doesn't matter. All right. For number 9, we have 6 minus 3i minus parentheses 3 plus 2i minus parentheses 4 plus 7i. I'm going to start this one by distributing that negative into the parentheses of the 3 plus 2i as well as the parentheses of the 4 plus 7i. So both of those negatives that are in front of the parentheses distribute into those parentheses. So it's going to give us 6 minus 3i minus 3 minus 2i minus 4 minus 7i. So from here, we're just going to combine like terms. So 6 minus 3 minus 4. The negative 3 and the negative 4 combine to give me negative 7. 6 minus 7 is negative 1. That one you have to have because it doesn't have an I attached to it. From there, you have negative 3i, negative 2i, and negative 7i. The negative 3i minus 2i is negative 5i, minus 7i is negative 12i. For 11, we have 4 plus 4i minus parentheses 6 plus i, close parentheses, minus 3 minus 6i. So we are going to distribute that negative first. That gives us 4 plus 4i minus 6 minus I minus 3 minus 6i. From here, combine your like terms. Start with your constants. 4 minus 6 is negative 2. Negative 2 minus 3 is negative 5. Then you have 4. So 4i and negative I is 3i. Minus 6i is negative 3i. So that's negative 5 minus 3i. For 13, we get into multiplying. For this one, we have 6 times negative 6 plus 7i. So we're going to distribute that 6 into the parentheses. 6 times negative 6 is negative 36. 6 times 7i is positive 42i. This is in a plus bi form. We do not have any like terms, so that is our answer. For 15, you have negative 5i times 3i times negative 3i. I'm going to start by just multiplying the negative 5i and the 3i. That gives me negative 15i squared times negative 3i. That I squared simplifies to be what? So then that's negative 15 times negative 1 times negative 3i. Negative times a negative is a positive, so that's just 15 times negative 3i. 15 times negative 3 is negative 45. We keep that I attached to it as well. So that's just negative 45I. For 17, you have negative 5I times negative 7I times 3 minus 8I. We're going to follow our order of operations here. We're going to distribute before we multiply that negative 5I and that negative 7I. So we're going to distribute that negative 7I into the parentheses. That's going to give us negative 5I times negative 21I plus 56I squared. That I squared turns into what? Negative 1. So negative 5I times negative 21I plus 56 times negative 1. From here, the negative 56 times negative 1, or sorry, the positive 56 times negative 1 is going to turn the 56 into a negative. So you're going to multiply that negative 5I times negative 21I minus 56. That 21 times 5, 1 times 5 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10, is going to give us a positive 105I squared. Then you have 56 times 5. The 6 times 5 is 30. 5 times 5 is 25, plus 3 is 28. So that's positive 280I. Once again, we have an I squared, which turns into negative 1. That 105 times negative 1 is going to give us a negative 105 plus 280I. If we look at number 19, we have 2I times 2I times 6 minus 6I. So again, I'm going to start this one by distributing the 2I in. That's going to give me 2I times 12I minus 12I squared. That I squared is negative 1, so it's going to turn that negative 12 into a positive 12. So that's 2I times 12I plus 12. We're going to distribute that 2I in. That's going to give us 24I squared plus 24I. Once again, that I squared turns that 24 into a negative. So that's going to give us negative 24 plus 24I. For number 21, you have 7I times negative 7 minus 3I times negative 8 minus 8I. I'm going to FOIL those two binomials first, and then I'll distribute whatever I get from that with the 7I. So foiling those two binomials, the negative 7 times negative 8 is going to give us a positive 56. The negative 7 times negative 8I is a positive 56I. Then negative 3I times negative 8 is a positive 24I. And negative 3I times negative 8I is a positive 24I squared. We're now going to simplify within those parentheses. So we're going to combine the 56I and the 24I. We're also going to turn that I squared into negative 1, multiply it by the 24, and that'll make it a negative 24. So that means we're going to have 7I times 56 plus 56 and 24. The 4 and the 6 is 10, carry the 1. 5 and 1 is 6, plus 2 is 8. So that's positive 80I minus 24. Still combine like terms within those parentheses because you have the 56 and the negative 24. So 56 minus 24, your 6 minus 4 gives you 2, and then the 5 minus 2 is 3. So that's 7I times 32 plus 80I. From here, distribute the 7I in. So we have 7I times 32. So 7 times 2 is 14. Carry the 1. 7 times 3 is 21. Plus 1 is 22. So that's 224I. then 7i times 80i is going to be 560i squared. Once again, we have an I squared, so that becomes -1. We multiply it by the 560, and that's 224i minus 560. Now, this is not in A plus BI form, so put it in A plus BI form. So rearrange these just to be -560 plus 224i. For 23, we have 8i times 7 plus 3i times -2 plus 6i. So again, we're going to FOIL first, then distribute. So 7 times -2 is going to give us -14. 7 times 6i is 42i. 3i times -2 is -6i. 3i times 6i is 18i squared. Combine like terms. Simplify that I squared to be -1. Turn that 18 to be -18. So it's going to give us 8i times -14 plus 36i minus 18. Combine your like terms once again with the -14 and the -18. So it's going to give you 8i times, they're both negative, so they're going to stay negative. That's going to be 32 plus 36i. From here, you're distributing that 8i in. So you're going to have 8i times -32. That's going to be, the 8 times 2 is 16, carry the 1. 8 times 3 is 24, plus 1 is 25. So -256i. Then you have 36 times 8. 8 times 6 is 48. 8 times 3 is 24, plus 4 is 28. So it's going to be a positive 288i squared. Once again, that I squared becomes -1. So multiply that by the the positive 288. That gives you -256i minus 288. This, again, is not in A plus BI form, so put it into A plus BI form. That's going to give you -288 minus 256i. For 25, you have 5 minus I times -6 plus 7i. So we're just going to FOIL this out. The 5 times -6 is 30, or -30. The 5 times 7i is 35i. -I times -6 is positive 6i. And then -I times 7i is -7i squared. Again, the I squared is -1. So that gives us, if we combine like terms and change that -7 to a positive 7, -30 plus 41i plus 7. Combine the -30 with the 7, keep it in front. That's going to give you -23 plus 41i. For 27, we have -5i times 5 plus I minus 7i times -7 plus 6i. So we are going to distribute the -5i in, then distribute the -7i in. So -5i times 5 is -25i. -5i times I is -5i squared. -7i times -7 is a positive 49i. -7i times 6i is a -42i squared. So we are going to combine like terms and simplify those I squared. I squared is -1.
Why wouldn't you multiply that in the parentheses and distribute the 4?
Say that again?
Like, why wouldn't you FOIL them? Once you already distributed the 5 and the 7, why wouldn't you?
Because it doesn't stay in the parentheses, so you won't FOIL them. You're just distributing the term that's in front of the parentheses, then simplifying and combining like terms. So this will become -25i plus 5 plus 49i plus 42. So from here, you're going to combine like terms. 5 and 42 give you 47. the negative 25i and the positive 49i combine. The 9 minus 5 is 4. 4 minus 2 is 2 to be positive 24i. And then for our last one, 29, you have 8 minus parentheses, 7 minus 7i, close parentheses, minus 4 plus 4 minus 5i times negative 5 plus I. I'm going to do two things in this first step. I'm going to distribute that negative into the 7 minus 7i. I'm also going to FOIL the two binomials. So this is going to give us 8 minus 7 plus 7i minus 4 plus the 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. 4 times I is 4i. Negative 5i times negative 5 is positive 25i. Negative 5i times I is negative 5i squared. We're going to simplify what's inside those parentheses. So we can also combine like terms on the outside, but I haven't gotten there yet, so I'm going to work inside those parentheses first. So I'm going to keep the 8 minus 7 plus 7i minus 4. The negative 20 is going to stay. The 4i and the 25i give us 29i. And then that negative 5 turns into a positive 5. So this, again, is 8 minus 7 plus 7i minus 4 plus negative 20 plus 5 is negative 15 plus 29i. From here, we combine our like terms. 8 minus 7 is 1. 1 minus 4 gives us negative 3. Negative 3 minus 15 is negative 18. Then we have 7i and 29i, which gives us a positive 36i.